the only way to play the new Ghostbusters game.
Oh, God.
All right, guys. So Blizzard has announced they're making an esports adaptation of their World of Warcraft raids. The Mythic Dungeon Invitational will see raid groups trying to score as well as possible in Mythic Dungeons, with the highest scores being invited for a tournament with a $100,000 prize on the line.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
Cool.
No,
Before we get into this, do that with Ballista way back in the day.
Before we get into this, we have to correct him once more on the words he's just used. He said that they're putting their Mythic rating.
I'm sorry, Mythic Dungeon.
It's dungeons.
Dumb shit, that's the second time you've made this.
Second time you've made that mistake. Big difference, as only five people do dungeons.
Versus 20.
You're muted, idiot.
Oh, boy.
Good. Now you know how it feels.
But first of all, Nika, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Trying to compare
Ballista?
this to Ballista? Get the fuck out of here.
No, Ballista did a thing like that where the best teams got actually flown out to an invitational.
Oh, yeah,
do you remember that?
You remember
Okay.
that $100,000 tournament that Final Fantasy XI had?
No, even beyond that,
remember what the prize was,
Ballista was PvP. This is
know.
PvE.
Right.
Yeah.
They turned their dungeon running
Here's the
into
thing.
a sport.
The thing about that is the biggest news that came out of that Ballista Invitational was proof that Rose Gardens later spawn existed. Voluptuous Vivian or Voracious Vilma, which one was it?
What?
That's how the one where you could only get it if you didn't kill Rose Garden. Someone at that Ballista PvP snuck out of the Ballista zone, went to Yotunga Jungle, and found it there, and that was the first confirmation that it actually existed, because on regular servers, no one could ever get it.
What the fuck are you talking? Wait, what?
There was an NM.
I do not remember this at all.
So yeah, in Yotunga Jungle, I think it was, there was an NM that there was Rose Garden who only spawned if you didn't kill the overgrown roses for a certain
They
period
were like
of time.
Marlboro type mobs.
Right, the Marlboro type mobs. And the rumor for the longest time was that if you didn't kill Rose Garden for an extended period of time, a higher tier Marlboro NM would spawn. I think it was Voluptuous Vilma.
No, yeah, Vivian was the one that was in On the Way to Dragon's Area.
Yeah. So it was Voluptuous Vilma. But no one could prove it because everyone would just kill Rose Garden whenever it was spawned for the possible item drop. So when this Ballista event happened, this crossover Ballista event, it was on a different server. Someone left the Ballista event during the event, went to Yotunga Jungle, and found the NM spawned there, and that was the confirmation that NM existed.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, I totally
Actual
missed
bit of
this entire
old
story.
FF11 lore for you.
Wow. I had no idea.
Meanwhile,
proud.
WoW's doing this Mythic Dungeon event.
Cares about $100,000.
Let's get on to that. So this is crazy. I love the idea of them trying to turn their PvE dungeons into an esport.
So is it like speed running, or are they scoring you?
It's a
based on how many
combination of
things you
speed
kill?
running.
A combination of both. The way that Mythic Dungeons work is that when you do a Mythic Dungeon for the first time, you get a special item that when you go into the Mythic version of it, if you beat it, your item then gets upgraded. So the next time you put it in there, it's a harder version and a harder version. And every 3 or 4 instances of that, it applies some type of bonus to the mobs. Like, for example, they have increased health. They have healing over time. They put down extra AoEs. They have no hate table. So the more and more you do it and you're successful, not only do they get stronger, but it puts certain restrictions to also make it harder.
Yep, and so basically you're also scored not only on clearing it, but how many deaths you have and all that kinds of stuff. This is really cool. This is actually something that they've been doing for a little bit. This is the first invitational, but at BlizzCon last year, they had their dungeons styled up in a PvP or in a PvE tournament style focus, and it was pretty popular.
Well, because FF14 did the speedrunning contest at the one fan fest, and that was pretty fun. I mean, that was kind of cool. But I mean, I don't know. Do you guys see this taking off? Look, inside of the WoW community, I'm sure it will be fine. And when your community is the size of a small country, that does seem that seems more sustainable long term. But I mean, do you see? I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna be nice and diplomatic. Do you see other MMOs trying to pull this off, even though they've got so much less play,
honestly,
less of a subscriber
I
base?
think the scope of this goes beyond even just MMOs, because right now we look at esports, it's all about competitive head-to-head player versus player type stuff, right?
Right.
But this idea of turning, player versus environment, or like AI type stuff into some type of competition. I mean, we kind of mostly
we
see
had the Mass Effect Online was like that.
Well, I mean, sort of. If you think of something like Horde mode, I guess, but just that idea of non-head-to-head type stuff, I think it's interesting. I think right now how it exists in gaming is probably looking at like speed running type stuff, right? Because you're not really going head-to-head with each other.
I mean,
but I think it's an interesting idea.
It is kind of like a unique way in for MMOs into that world, right? And we heard, and whether it was fair or true or not, but around the time of FanFest, we heard that Square Enix may have been trying to take PvP in FF14 with, the leaderboards and things like that,
right,
and try to make it more competitive in an organized way, like tournaments, more so than what the Feast is, right? To the point where some people had even said, well, FF14 might be an esport because those people
Square
were
Enix had different ideas.
sad and naive. But
could rating in 14 be an esport?
No.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so. Not rating, but something like this for other MMOs, because like if I'm gonna watch this, like if I watch it and then I like the format, right, and there's an audience then for the format, right? Like I think other MMOs could follow suit and in a much smaller way.
I feel like the only way that you could get away with it, because like you said, I mean, WoW obviously has the best chance having the biggest population, right? And I don't even know if that would necessarily take off on its own. Now you could maybe launch some type of league where, similar to how we have the fight, the FGC, right? Where it's one sort of event or events that have all different games
at some point. Yeah, see, like at some point that's what it would have to be.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because like MMOs as a genre are kind of in trouble right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're going to find relevance, I think one of the ways to do that, I mean, whether again, its legitimacy is debatable, right? Like it is kind of a little bit cynical, a little bit cash grabby, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's not totally invalid to want to get involved with an esports scene or try to drive a competitive aspect to your game. So I think like
it would have to be grassroots. It would have to be something like how Smash, sprung up out of nowhere and they're carrying themselves through it. Someone somewhere would have to decide to like make some type of league and just bring in together all these, like world first. See, that's the thing, because I feel like world first is where it's at. And once people have world first, do they really care all that much?
Yeah, if I could make $100,000 with my group, maybe I would.
Yeah,
okay, the prize pots are definitely, I think, the thing that's attractive right there.
Where's all the money coming from? Because who wants to watch, like, this is essentially like a dungeon run, right?
Yeah, and
I mean,
competitive dungeon.
Like you're watching people who are like avoiding damage at all turns. They're doing the most damage here and there, and I mean it's impressive to watch the best of the best.
And when they did this at BlizzCon, the finals drew pretty good Twitch numbers.
It depends on the game. Would I want to watch it in FF14? No, I'm sorry, I wouldn't.
Again, if it was our friends competing,
maybe.
You know what I mean? Like if it was FF14 because we have a personal stake in that, I think we would watch it. We would definitely watch it.
People who don't have a stake in the people playing.
I think, FF14 players are remarkably loyal. That's pretty proven by the fact that Stormblood still has anyone playing it. So,
Loyalty has its limits.
I wouldn't necessarily discount it yet. But I'm saying, like, if there was an event that was FF14 and Guild Wars and a whole bunch of different MMOs were in there, and you were competing for money, like, yeah, dude, I think I would watch that. Would I watch WoW? No, I don't know that. I don't have enough of an attachment to WoW, but I do recognize that WoW has enough of a community to be able to support an idea like that, independent of whether I care about it. So my question is that do other what do other MMOs do if this is even remotely successful?
Of Palace of the Dead and Isle style races between people. Like how fast can you clear the challenge on this floor and get to the top before the other teams?
Palace 1 to 200, that could actually be interesting to watch.
That would be
cut out the first 100.
Yeah, fair enough. Palace 101 to 200.
Thank you.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and then if you die, you're eliminated. Boom, gone.
Well, obviously,
No.
because if you lose, then
Or
you're not
second-
going to
Or I
catch
guess
up.
you can start. You just start over, and
yeah, starting over because you never know if somebody else does, and that could make for a really interesting comeback too.
then
Yeah.
that's true. That's true.
I see. I think that if MMOs wanted to do that, and if they wanted to get competitive, that if they banded together. Because I think that that's what they would need to do.
That's why it would have to be grassroots because Square Enix isn't going to get together with like Blizzard or with whoever makes
NCSoft.
Guild
Well,
or
no.
whatever.
Take Blizzard out of that equation. They're going to blaze the path, right? They're going to blaze the trail, and they're going to find out if beyond their own community there is any interest in this, right? And if there is interest beyond their own community, then I do think that other MMOs will look at this as an opportunity. Now, if they banded together, right, like in kind of a grassroots way, like let's say, Square Enix and NCSoft and trying to think of other MMO developers, but no one's really coming to mind.
Blade and Soul.
But Bethesda, okay, who made Blade? I don't even remember who made Blade and Soul.
Some Korean company.
It's McGee.
Black Desert Online, right? Like that's another one. I don't know who developed that, but like let's say all of them banded together and was like, all right, we're going to make an event, and it's going to be the competitive MMO event. I think that if you thought outside the box and thought creatively, then it's possible something like that could take off. But again, MMOs are going to have to do something. And we've said this for a long time outside of just repeating the WoW cycle over and over and over again to be able to remain relevant moving forward, whether that's finding new gameplay options or, new environment options or, the next phase in what MMO gameplay is going to look like. Or whether it's getting more involved on a competitive level. I think that either approach is valid. I mean, I guess I would like to throw more creative development at the problem, but that's just me.
MMO players are fiercely protective of their game. I would love an event where different MMO players are gathered in one building. Are you kidding me?
Oh man, yeah, that would be cool, dude.
That's a sitcom waiting to happen.
Like I remember at FF14 FanFest, there was a guy there in an EverQuest 2 shirt, and like all of the stink-eyed looks that he was getting. It didn't help that he had suspenders and a twirly mustache like a stupid hipster moron.
Yeah, that wasn't doing him any favors.
Yeah, no, that wasn't helping. But he was getting a lot of hate stares. Like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, yeah, he's going
clearly
for that.
trolling,
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Hats off to him.
Get ready, Star Wars fans. The open beta for Star Wars Battlefront 2 has officially been announced from October 6th